Look, I mean, before we start, I'd like to sort of give a quick introduction to myself so that you understand where I'm coming from, and I'm aware that I'm the last speaker. So hopefully, this is like you're closer to cocktails and drinks, so you'll be a lot more excited about this session that we have, right? But Indonesia is very close to my heart. I'm based out of Singapore, and before this, I was at Zalora heading marketing for Zalora, and then I've joined View 3 years ago as well, and since then I've had various roles in marketing as well as now product management. But all through my career, the focus has been on user and revenue growth, right? So that's been my sort of overall career focus. And the interesting thing is that Indonesian customers have just loved Korean drama to such an extent, and we're just extremely excited. And personally for me, Indonesia has been one of our largest markets, as well as one of the most successful markets for us. We've had a very close relationship with our customers, and the journey has been fascinating, and I hope to show you some of the stuff that we have today. And the second thing is to thank Yashwant and Ravi for inviting me and building a great product that we've been using for a while now. And I believe we were one of the early adopters, and it's been serving us really well. Although we keep demanding a lot more from MoEngage, but it's all in good spirit. So with that, thank you so much for giving me time. I'd like to start. Since the audience, there are people who may not have used View or heard about View. So View, the value proposition to the users is to bring the best of Asian entertainment to our users in Asia, right? Asians love their own local content and content that is made in Asia. So our value proposition in one line is to bring the best of Asian entertainment to our audiences in Asia, right? Now, some of these statistics are mind-boggling, and I'll share with you why. In 2018, 37.5 billion minutes were spent on the View app by viewers across our markets, right? We are there in 17 markets, including Indonesia, 30 over million monthly active users, 900 original episodes in 2018 alone were available on the View app. And like you can see, we've been across markets, launching across various points in time. And most recently, we launched South Africa in February of 2019. And we're there across Asian markets, Middle East, and Indonesia and India are some of the largest markets that we operate in. The beauty about the number that you saw is that, on the Android app, if you look at App Annie data, in the entertainment category of all apps, including 9gag that was mentioned by a friend earlier, View captures 25% of the entire time in the category spent by users in a month on Android, right? So if, and that's mind-boggling because the number 2 and number 3 players sort of combined do not match that number. So 25% of the entire entertainment category time in Indonesia in a month on Android is spent on View. So viewers in Indonesia have loved us, and we are very thankful to them. And these are some very sort of, numbers that we are proud of, and, some things that have made Indonesia very special for us is 150 minutes per user per day is spent with us, and it trumps all social media channels combined, right? So, almost. We will reach there soon, don't worry. So, like, if you look at all of these channels, we sort of get a much larger share than each of those. So we're very proud of this so far, and it's been a fascinating journey. But all of this sort of has taken a significant amount of effort from all of the teams combined to build a very strong value proposition, right? So even from a device perspective, right, 41 minutes is spent on a computer, 23 minutes on a tablet, 54 minutes on a smartphone, but an Indonesian viewer spends on average 150 minutes. And this is by Millward Brown. And what we've seen is that largely the competition is also with television, right? The traditional sort of linear TV channels. And if you look at the time when most of the viewers consume, it's largely during prime time, which is in the late evenings, right? So we're starting to sort of really capture the consumers' hearts where they give us the most precious time that they have, which is in the evenings every day. Yeah? The value proposition to our consumers is freemium, OTT, and viewers can view Korean drama the same day as it is aired in Korea, Japan, Thailand, China, Malaysia, and UAE. They can view offline by using our download feature. They will get within 24 hours Bahasa Indonesia subtitles, and they can view the video quality as per their screen size or preferences, right? So that they can manage their data consumption appropriately. 16,000 hours of Asian-focused content is what is present on View today. And it's at compelling value at less than 10 cents per day of unlimited viewing experience, which is our subscription service. But you don't have to pay. Some parts of our product is premium, which is behind the paywall, but some part of it is free as well for our viewers. Like I said, the subtitles, Bahasa Indonesia is available in 24 hours. English is available in just 8 hours, right? So you don't have to go to a pirate site to enjoy some of your favorite titles and sort of feel fully free, get great consumer experience, be legal, as well as enjoy the content that you so love. Now, why did I say that? Because eventually, if we have a very strong consumer value proposition, we would be able to do all of these things properly. Because the consumer value proposition comes first. We've spent a lot of time, energy in building a very compelling consumer value proposition and building a product with content that consumers would love. Now, once you have a strong and compelling value proposition, how do you do all of these things that we all do, right? In terms of the funnel optimization, acquisition, retention, how do we structure this whole sort of set of operations that we run, right? So for us, we sort of take a funnel view, right? Where we are ubiquitous, present across all platforms. Mobile is obviously the largest part of our business, which is on the right-hand side. And then what you see is the sort of the classical marketing funnel, IDA, right? Awareness, interest, desire, and action. And we operate across all of these channels, which so many speakers have mentioned, display, video, social, SEO, ASO, SEM, retargeting, affiliates. All of the channels sort of are what we access. And sort of all of these acquisitions, user acquisition that happens organically and inorganically, once they become our customers and our users, we have all of the re-engagement or CRM channels, which we use to communicate and engage with our customers, including push notifications, email, social media chat apps, customer service, and the SMS pipes, right? The singular focus, because we are a subscription business, for us, it's extremely important that we retain our customers. So this yellow section is extremely important because we want to retain as many of our users as we can. All of us know customer acquisition is expensive. So retention is the name of the game, and it's extremely important that we do this really well, right? And have our users present on us for as long as possible. Now, those users, we also use to bring other new users organically for us through the referral channel. So they become our ambassadors, right? And then we have sort of programs, user referral programs and invite programs that we run. Whoever churns, we hope, we want to keep the churn minimal, but some do churn. And then those are sort of considered as back on the top of the funnel to win back in various mechanisms. And I'll show you some stuff that we've done to do so effectively. And all of these operations, and these are very sort of, all of it is done in-house, and they are very sort of large-scale operations that happen through this upper funnel on acquisition and retention. But all of it is supported with very robust analytics, right? It's all data-driven, and decisions are made based on all of the data points that we collect and present to all of the not just managers, but also the executives who run the campaigns on a real-time manner so that they can take all of the appropriate actions. There's a budgeting model where the top-down and bottom-up budgets per channel or per a campaign are made available by the analytics team to the campaign managers so that they know how to adjust and optimize their campaigns for much more effective and efficient customer acquisition, right? Strong automation and data infrastructure, and lastly and very importantly, creatives optimization, right? Because eventually the user engagement happens when consumers see our creatives, and what they see, how they see is extremely important. We're very sort of careful about how we communicate with our users because they expect nothing but the best from us. So the creatives and the optimization of those creatives are also a very important part of the entire operations that is run to support all of these functions, right? And everyone has to be focused fully on maximizing the lifetime value, like I said, the longest period of time that the users spend with us. That's our currency. User engagement is our currency, and we want to make sure that there is no reason any user has to go anywhere else and spend their entertainment quota of time with us, right? So that's been the objective, and we've seen significant growth. We showed you the 37 billion minutes that people spend with us, right? So that's the focus for everyone. We have an internal metric called LTEM, which is lifetime engagement minutes. Over a lifetime, how many minutes does a user spend with us? We want to maximize our share of watch time in every market where we are present, because to us, that's the lead indicator of retention, value creation for the user, as well as value creation for us. Now, forget all of the heavy text, right? And all of this has been taken from Andreessen and Horowitz. And I just wanted to sort of share a few internal thought processes that we subscribe to, but they were sort of put forward by A16Z and Bill Gurley at Benchmark Capital. See, look, lifetime value, although I've said it's very important, everyone wants to measure it, but it's very important it's done right. And right is relative, right? Sometimes the LTV model is used to rationalize marketing spending, right? What that means is that, hey, look, my LTV is $100 because the user stays with us for 12 months. Now, the problem in any of these kind of analyses is that these are predictions. Things change. The further you are in time, the quality of your prediction and the accuracy of your prediction goes down, right? Which is why it's extremely important that we don't get seduced by fancy LTV calculations, because at the end of the day, the market might change 3 months later. And if you would have already paid now for a user who you thought will give you value 12 months later. So it's extremely important to get the math right, or at least be conservative in the math, so that if things change, you're not ending in a cash flow negative situation where your assumptions fall flat and your business cash flows are compromised, right? So it's extremely important to understand how to use LTV in the right way, right? And there are some examples that he gives. I won't delve too much into it, but largely he says that, hey, the LTV math has to be correct. Similarly on CAC, we look at the customer acquisition cost in 2 ways, right? One is just the paid channel customer acquisition cost. Again, this is source Andreessen and Horowitz, which is, so the paid channel customer acquisition cost and the blended customer acquisition cost. Blended because you add organic to it. Sometimes we tend to use the blended number, which will also lead you to challenging customer acquisition unit economics, right? So it's important to sort of know what you're doing and make sure that the free paid ratio, which is the percentage of users you get organically from channels like SEO, keeps on increasing, right? So your organic percentage of users you get organically, if they are increasing and your free paid ratio is healthy, that is the path to profitability at scale. It is not enough to grow, because you have to grow sustainably, which is why I loved the quality of the conversations earlier in the day when there were speakers who mentioned that, hey, look, we want to grow sustainably. No discounts, no price wars, because you don't want to build a business which will last 6 months or 3 months. You want to build a business which will last a long time, and the only way to do that is to build it sustainably. So think about CAC in terms of what is the acquisition cost specifically for each paid channel. Optimize on that, make every channel profitable. I heard someone say that, hey, every order is profitable. That's awesome if you're able to do that. Now, churn, retention, NPS cohorts. Along the same line, for us, retention is extremely critical. So the way we measure churn, the way we measure retention, and the way we measure brand loyalty, right? NPS is the way we measure brand loyalty. How many of our users would go and recommend and refer their friends to you, right? That number is extremely critical, that it keeps going up and up, right? And there are like, products and businesses out there who are at like 80% NPS, and those are very, very good scores. And we want to make sure that, we're not there yet, but we are close, and we want to make sure that we get to the highest NPS scores and keep improving over time. And more users love us and want to recommend us versus detractors and people who will not recommend us, right? So we want to make sure that retention is measured in the right way, churn is measured in the right way, and there are actions that are taken after the measurement, right? And I'll show you some examples later. The key point I wanted to make here is that vanity metrics should be avoided, right? If you want to build a healthy business, vanity metrics like app downloads should be avoided. Why? Because an app download is just the starting of the journey. Value has not been consumed by the user, value has not been delivered to the user, and it's not enough to look at that metric, right? So sometimes we get bogged down by some of these. So like, 10 years ago, you would remember that people used to talk about Facebook likes. How many likes did we get? Today, no longer so much. You hear that, hey, how many likes you got, and how many followers you have, and so on and so forth, because those are vanity metrics. So make sure you understand your true North Star, which is aligned to consumer value creation. And if you do that, like for us, it's time consumed, right? How many minutes a user spends over their lifetime with us, right? So that's our sort of key North Star metric, and we tend not to go for vanity metrics. I mean, we will share with you if you want, but we don't want to focus on it internally. We don't focus on it internally. Another key sort of nugget here is on viral coefficient. Like if you remember, I showed you the line which is K factor. So what we really look at is, if I had 1,000 users, how many of those users are bringing their friends and family or other users to me, right? How many of them are referring to me? So in summary, if you had each user bring another user to you for free, you would have an infinitely scaling business, right? Because that user would come, he would also bring another user, right? But obviously, anything above 1 is considered viral, but reaching there is extremely difficult, right? So what people say as a rule of thumb is that, if you have anything above 0.5, it's considered very good, right? And then you keep optimizing until you reach 1. So we've sort of started to focus on this, on this metric to build viral loops and to sort of get our viral coefficient and K factor higher and higher over time. And you would notice the nature of these, and all of this is in A16Z, right? The nature of all of this is to build a healthy, sustainable business, to build a true business which adds consumer value, and to build a business that's, that is profitable and we know is heading towards profitability, right? So these are the nature of these things, because these are tough to do, but really meaningful to do. Analytics. A lot has been said about it today, and I'm fascinated by the work that MoEngage is trying to do on this space. My conversations with Nalin were fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to some of the stuff that he's building. What do we want to do, right? This is the maturity curve, right? Over time, how complex, like the data that you collect and the value that you generate from the data is not the same, right? So you need to start with collection of the data, understanding of the data, but over time, you can milk your data more and more through these techniques, which have been talked about, to give you more business value as you become more sophisticated and you have team members who know these techniques to work on your data, right? So right now, we've not reached that level of nirvana to prescriptive analytics, but that's where we want to. We were somewhere at the forecasting and predictive stage, and I'll show some examples with you, right? Once you have all the right approaches, consumer value, the right data, the right metrics that you want to optimize on, all your teams need to, like all our teams, they have to significantly test. They have to test and learn, right? And over time, what we've seen is that, like product enhancements sort of give you a step change, right? And then operating teams need to make sure that there is a continuous improvement through optimizations using the data to keep the business growing, right? So there are some things that will give you a step change. There are some things that will give you sort of a more of an incremental change. Both are important, and both need to happen hand in hand because step changes can take time. Specifically on notifications, while we use MoEngage as the tool, the framework that we use and we think about is RRF, which is reach, relevance, and frequency, right? We want to maximize reach, maximize relevance, and optimize frequency. We don't want to bombard and spam our users, but we want to make sure that the reach and relevance parts are maximized, right? And there are metrics that we use for each of these, right? And this was not done by me. This is Andy Carwell who's going to come up with this framework, and it's really powerful and sort of helps put everything in context. There are some more details around here, but he really sort of what he mentions is if you focus on these 3 KPIs and organize all of your activities, campaigns, efforts into these, he believes that will take you towards optimal a push notification and re-engagement strategy. It's not just for push. The strategy can be used for all your CRM activities and channels. Now, on this framework, what have we done? On the first, which is reach, we've scaled, this is like 12 months, so T and T minus 12. We've scaled our push notifications, the ones that we send, by about 8.5x. So that's the quantum of growth, the volume that we send every month, and the volume that gets delivered every month. So the real impact on reach increase has been 6.6x, which is good. But what we're trying to work on with our partners such as MoEngage is that, hey, how can we take this up? And really exciting to hear their experiment and the beta with Xiaomi. So some of those types of initiatives will really help us push this number upwards and help us grow even more, because I know the potential is 8.5, we are doing 6.6, right? But this was not done through spamming, right? This was done while we were able to grow CTR by 50%, right? So we were able to grow relevance along with reach. How did we grow relevance? One of the things that we did was recommendation engine campaigns, right? So our data science teams built a recommendation service, an API, which was used to power the notifications that we sent to our users, which each message was customized for each user. And we've scaled these campaigns in the last 5 months or so, and the results have been pretty impressive, where the app launch rate has been 30% better, and the click rates have been 50% better, right? So the recommendation engine API seems to be working for us. Now we want to scale this and automate this a lot more. Now, churn minimization. One of the successes that we had recently was where we had a few win-back campaigns that we ran and which scaled significantly as well. And we had a simple consumer value proposition that we experimented with, right? Because churned users, it's very tough to win back, right? So we keep experimenting, and this thing really worked well, where the insight was that, hey, since a lot of Korean simulcast content can be behind the paywall, there might have been users who were interested in watching, but did not because it was behind the paywall, and they churned out. Now, after a certain period of time, those content pieces may be made free, which means they are brought in front of the paywall, and users can access it for free. They don't have to be a paid subscriber. Now, when that happens, we started sending them a notification that, hey, now this content has been made free. Do you want to come and watch? So we tied the consumer value prop to the campaign, and it worked really well. Consumers came back, they loved, they engaged really well, and we were able to win them back. And this was free. We did not do paid retargeting. Similarly, we also prevented churn, right? Now, as we look at the data more and more, we learn, and then we ran a model where the data science team came up with a logistic regression model which predicted the probability of churn at a user level. The moment we got that, we said, hey, let's give them an offer, right? Maybe there are some reasons why they've not found value. Maybe there was a content they were looking for. There might be any number of reasons. let's give them more time, let's give ourselves more time. We give them an offer that, hey, come back and we will give you 1 month. Why don't you enjoy for 1 more month? And we prevent them from churning. This happens to users only who have a probability of more than 40% of churning. For the others, we don't have to because we don't believe that, that they are finding sufficient value. For the others who did not find value yet, we wanted to make sure that they have more time to get value. And we prevented churn this way for a significant volume of users. As you can see, these campaigns scaled, and we are now scaling them even more. Now, I know I'm running short of time, so fortunately, we are on the last slide. What is the summary of all of these things that I'm sharing with you today? First and foremost, it always starts with the consumers. If you create value and show value to users, that is where the truth is. Once that is there, then everything else follows. So we really focus on building and creating true consumer value, which has really helped us in Indonesia. Then we make sure that the data and the metrics and the analytics is right. This is much tougher to do than what it sounds like or it looks like. But if you get it right, it's totally worth it. You feel good every day because you are moving on the right track. Things will work. Things will, you don't have regrets, right? So, you want to make sure that all of these 3 pieces are right. And it's really worth investing in getting your data, metrics, and analytics right. Lastly, use frameworks to structure. Sometimes it can be too complicated for people who are not from the industry or people who don't understand how things work, because it is complicated. MarTech, AdTech, CRM, in the digital space, it is not. It is complicated. There are a lot of jargons. But what helps is having frameworks to structure the thought process amongst all the teams, and then focus, right? Focus on the priorities. So for example, our focus is, let's say, on reach, or it is on relevance. And then all the initiatives you saw were rolling up to those key focus areas. And those focus areas are shared by all the teams involved, right? So these 3 things have really helped us, and that's what I thought I'll share with you today. Thank you so much for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yes, 1 and 2. 1 only? All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Please identify yourself first, sir. Nggak sampai, Mas. Udah sore nih, Masnya. Silakan, Mas.
My name is Andy.
Yep.
I'm from Happy Fresh, so I have 2 questions. So I would like to know your opinion of what makes an effective referral campaign. So that's my first question. And number 2, I forget inside number what. So for people who churn, you give them like 1 month more to enjoy your app, right? So how do you avoid user taking advantage of you? So that's
No, so let me address the second one first. So it is not after churn, right? Our models predict if a user is going to churn, because the data has seen that people who exhibit the similar behavior in the past have gone and churned. So it's a preventive mechanism. And user does not know that, hey, I'm in this bucket, right? So it is a sort of a preventive measure. It's an action that is taken by us based on the data that we see. And it is an opportunity because we know that the user has not found sufficient value yet. So it's all about consumer value. If the user has watched enough series already, it's very likely he will not show up in the model because he's getting value and he's okay. It's okay for the user to continue with us. Now, users taking advantage of us, fortunately, we've not had this problem at all in Indonesia, right? Some markets, some places we've had some challenges, but in Indonesia, we've not had this problem at all. We've had, in fact, users coming to our office and saying, take my money, can you give me premium today? I don't know how to pay online. we've had those situations. So it's been positive. We've not had users taking advantage of us. And largely it's because of the freemium model. You don't have to pay, right? It's the part of the service is free. So the incentive to do these kind of funny things is not too high, right? So for us, it's been okay, and we don't want to build bulletproof systems or sort of preempt that there are all fraudsters out there. We will cross the bridge when they come, but right now we've not had any of those kind of situations. So thankfully, which is why Indonesia is one of my favorite markets. On the first question was referral, right? So referral is, the KPI is K-factor, right? Virality, right? As soon as a user comes in, they have an option to refer their friends and family to us. And if they help us recruit certain, users and bring more people to view, there are some benefits that we give to them, right? So it helps us with virality. So the measurement and the success criteria for referral program is virality, which is K-factor. If one user came in, how many users did he bring? Does that answer your question? Yeah, thank you.